Welcome back once again to another Shark Show. Today, Commissioners Court, May 11th, item number 5. It says discuss and take appropriate action on Tyler NetD software selection as a result from the final report from the IT software committee.
So they had appointed this committee to handle this, but did they get to do the job fully on that?
I think they missed a workshop, and one of the commissioners said there was supposed to be one, but there never was.
Yeah, usually when you have something like this on the table, you have a workshop to kind of go over and discuss everything that was found, go over the details, hash it out, and just kind of get more information from the committee report.
And if you look at the agenda item, it doesn't have anywhere in there what the cost of, and there were 3 options. Each option was, and number 1 was $1.4 million, and it exempted the sheriff's department. So how can you have a committee review an entire software option package and take out your major users? One of your major users, the sheriff's department, and I think the second most at this point would probably be the county clerk's office. So at what point in time do you say they're exempt, but they're not exempt?
Yeah, it's uneven across the board for everybody. They're saying they want to get everybody on the same page, but what we have is an exemption for the sheriff's office, which to me raises the question, why would you exclude them? I mean, are there records in a position where they can't be transferred over?
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder what's going on there behind the scenes. Why would they, if the point of this is to get everyone on the same page, why that exemption? What's really going on here?
And you don't have your biggest user, that the sheriff's department's exempt. So even with that, it's still $1.4 million to go over. Is it worth the money? And it looks like, listening to the Commissioners Court, that everybody's operating at a high efficiency for the citizens of Hood County with the software that's already in place.
Yeah.
So
leaving it alone keeps the efficiency up, right?
Right.
Yeah, if it's not broke, you don't fix it, right?
Well, government does. And I think Commissioner Eagle comes in and says that, we'll fix it till it's finally broke, right?
Yeah.
And Precinct 4, Justice of the Peace, Dub Gillum, got up to speak, and he did a really good job. Let's listen to Dub.
Every one of you, except Commissioner Cotton, have stood in my office, talked to my clerks, or talked to me and have been in favor of me keeping for what works best for my office. You've been in there, you've seen how efficient we are. We do a very great job for Hood County and its people. And I'm asking for your support to support me, support the county and the people. And my main contention has always been, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. We don't want it, we don't need it. Don't spend the money on the JPs that want to stay with net data. And there's 3 JPs that want to stay with net data. And we do a great job. So I'm asking for your support to support us and continue doing the job that we're doing.
Judge Gillum brought up some great points in what he was saying yesterday, in that, the training from Tyler is subpar. They didn't even train the clerks on how to process their payments, and that is effectively damaging his record keeping for his office. I mean, he's got to do that, and this solution that the commissioners are forcing on him is kind of crippling his ability to do so.
Yeah, he's basically saying we don't want this. What we have in place now works great. You don't need to spend this money for something that we don't want. We have a system in place. We know how to use it. Let us continue to do our job efficiently because we're able to do it efficiently. He even said they're ahead of the curve on the e-file stuff. So if they're able to do their job and be ahead of the curve, why are we changing anything?
That's right. And it's all about the efficiency. Is it top-notch for the citizens? And yes, it is. And it's that point in time where you got to go, look, this is a $1.4 million package. Once again, what are we doing? When we're operating already at high efficiency, now we're going to take people back down for a couple of years to bring them back up.
And then you have to factor in all the man hours and the training that's going to take. So you switch over to this new system. So the initial cost is $1.4 million, but in the end game, it's going to be a lot more than that.
And, Courtney, you've talked about this $1.4 million, and the cost could actually end up being a lot higher. why would we dump this money into something we don't necessarily need right now that the elected officials don't want when we have volunteer fire department literally about to create a new taxing entity because they haven't been getting what they need from the commissioner's court? With them doing this, when it comes time for the VFD stuff, I don't want to hear any one of those commissioners say, we don't have the money.
That's right, because you're looking at 1.4 million at this point in time. It's really not a matter of want. You know, they don't want it, it won't work. It's a matter of they're efficient, what they're doing is awesome for the county already, for the citizens, and we just have 1.4 million that somebody in the works in the county wants everybody to change to Tyler because it's probably better for that one person.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, there's nothing wrong with having two systems if it's for the benefit of the citizens. And like you said, Nate, 1.4 million that can be used for the volunteer fire departments, plus the underestimated $1 million sales tax that the auditor hasn't been budgeting right correctly.
3.9 million for the last 8 years or whatever.
Yeah, 5 years. So you take those two together, you know, evidently we have enough money for 2.4 million for the fire department that's actually needed for the safety of the citizens, the safety of the firefighters, yet we want to mess around with 1.4 million to make things less efficient for 2 or 3 years, to make things more efficient, and we don't even have a guarantee on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have this money that needs to be spent for the volunteer fire department, and then we have other people saying, we don't want this change, we don't need to spend this money. It makes you wonder, like, what is going on? What are the commissioners thinking?
I think Dave Eagle and Kevin Andrews voted against this, but, you know, Ron and the other Ron and Ron Wilson all voted in favor of it.
For the last 2 years, the JPs there have tried to convert over to Tyler. And they've had numerous issues. And finally, the Commissioners Court, reluctantly, I guess, said, okay, and they've gone back to net data. And I've heard comments that from inside, especially the ones who are advocating the Tyler, that net data is 5 pushes of the button and Tyler's 1. Well, the Polk County people said net data was 1 push of the button and Tyler was 8. So, again, I've reached out and checked with those people, and I've talked to numerous people inside this county. The ones who are using the net data products, by and large, are fine with it. I've talked to the county court at law judge. He's happy with, he likes both programs. He uses both of them. I've talked to the county clerk and some of her help. They're both happy with what they've got right now. I've talked to all the JPs about it, except for one is not happy about it, the situation the way it is, and that's fine. And I really appreciate the report that was done by our 2 citizens who helped us out. We have a huge issue looming on the horizon regarding volunteer fire departments, and what are we going to do to up the game for our local volunteer fire departments, which, by the way, is one of our jobs. That's an infrastructure issue. But I actually went over to the county clerk's office, and I could walk in there and get on her computer, and I can look up cases. I can look up all kinds of stuff without having to go ask permission on their net data. Which in my opinion, transparency and being able to get a hold of documents is a huge issue. And I can walk down the hall of our district clerk's office and I can't get onto anything. Now, I don't know if that's a Tyler issue or it's something else. I heard Judge Gillum say something about if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, what I think of is an old saying with a twist on that about the government. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. So why don't we let people use what they're using?
So Dave, he spoke to a lot of the people that are going to be using these systems, and also for him as an attorney and how he's able to access records or can't access records on certain systems. And he's listening to the people that are actually going to be using this interface, the people that are actually going to be using this software. So the commissioners, once again, the 3 commissioners don't seem to be listening to the people that are actually going to be using this system, using this software, and will be the ones ultimately paying the price.
Along with the citizens.
Along with the citizens,
Right,
yes.
because there's going to be more manpower, maybe even hiring more county officials. And when you have a county commissioner that can go to the county clerk's office, get on NetD, and see everything, there's accountability, there's transparency, and then you go to the district clerk's office on Tyler and you can't pull up anything, well, that just throws everything out the window.
Well, and that could also go back to our district clerk, too. She's got a tendency to keep stuff locked up that shouldn't be, speaking from personal experience.
So, Commissioner Eagle had a great idea. Let people go to it if they think it's more efficient and better for the citizens of Hood County, and use them as a test case. And just keep every elected office, and there's a lot of them here in Hood County, let them run as efficiently as possible with the software programs that they need.
Right, yeah, so it's kind of be like a beta test. And, not every department is going to have the same needs as the other department. So it may work out that Tyler works for this department and NetData works for another department. And if that's what's more efficient, then why wouldn't you do that?
What I gathered from watching Dave was he's offering the common sense solution here. I mean, everything he said was just making horse sense, so to speak. And, I think we need a little bit more of that up on the commissioner's court.
So once again, Commissioner Eagle, Commissioner Andrew, they both do a great job on this. And we have word that an injunction is being considered. We haven't seen it filed yet to stop this Tyler, transition that Ron, and Jack had done.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you don't listen to the people, the elected officials that are going to be subject to using this software. When you've got that many departments against it, you really got to consider if this is the best move for the county or not. Because if you're going to force or mandate something like this on a bunch of departments that don't want it, this is something you have to consider that might be coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, and when all this is getting brought up, one of the things I questioned was, does the Commissioner's Court have the authority to do this? I mean, elected officials are responsible for the record keeping of their offices, and yeah, the Commissioner's Court has the purse strings, but unlike in Congress, it's a lot harder for a Commissioner's Court to just say, oh, we're going to defund this program. It just doesn't work like that.
No, and there's older Attorney General opinions about this and the record keeping of each office. And you have to remember, too, the commissioners are elected, but also, all the JPs, constables, county clerk, district clerk, they're elected also. And they're responsible for, their offices. They were elected by the citizens of Hood County to do the most efficient job possible. And if, what they voted on from the Commissioner Court, Ron, and Jack, if that takes away from what they do, and you're spending, once again, $1.4 million to do it, then there's a problem.
Yeah, there's a big problem. There might be a bigger one coming their way.
As we get into the motion made by Commissioner Jack Wilson, there's evidently 3 options on the table. Now, this wasn't in the agenda, so the public can't see this, but option number 1 is all offices convert to Tyler except the Sheriff's Department, one of the main users. So you're exempting, maybe 40% of all the data, and you're saying, hey, you could use NetD, but nobody else can. That's option 1. Option 2 is everybody but the sheriff and JP3. And option 3 is status quo, it remains as is. So they elected to go. Commissioner Wilson set a motion out for option number 1. All offices convert to Tyler except for the sheriff. Why is there an exemption?
If they're going to mandate something like this and they're going to dump all that money, you'd think they would make it across the board, because their argument seems to be, well, eventually, not in the near future, but eventually it'll increase efficiency. If that's the case, okay, but put it across the board. Don't keep half the data out of this system. It just doesn't make any sense.
And if you're going to exempt one department, why can't you let the other departments who don't want any part of this be exempted as well?
Yeah, it begs the question, if you're exempting the sheriff's office, is it because the data doesn't transfer properly, or there's too much data to back check and put into place for Tyler, or is the data not done properly? There's something there that the sheriff's department was exempted. So if the sheriff's department's using NetD, and as will continue in the near future, then I think for this $1.4 million of taxpayer money, that they should go back to option number 3, status quo, use as is. Because if it isn't good enough for the sheriff, then it isn't good enough for anybody else. And that's the problem.
I move that based on the information provided in the Hood County software evaluation and after consultation with the county attorney regarding certain AE or AG opinions that have been brought forth, that the county Commissioner's Court proceed with option 1 as stated in the report, and that is that all Hood County departments, except the Sheriff's Department, switch to Tyler software, as defined in option 1 of the report.
I hear a second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion or comment? Okay, all those in favor of Commissioner Wilson's motion that we accept the committee's work and vote for option 1, that is the entire county switching over to Tyler Odyssey, second by Commissioner Cotton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 3-2.
Yeah, so watching this, and it happens to be a lot of times when there are contentious things, we've got Dave Eagle and Kevin Andrews fighting the good fight, trying to bring common sense and conservatism, both fiscal and social, to that Commissioner's Court. Very proud of those guys. On this issue, the flip side to Dave Eagle and Kevin Andrews, we've got Ron Massengill, Ron Cotton, and unfortunately to see Jack Wilson. You know, he made the motion, so, you know, down the trot, if we have some negative effects come out of this, it's kind of resting at his feet.
It seems like this was already decided before Commissioner's Court. I mean, Jack knew he was going to make this motion, and the two Rons and Jack decided they were going to vote for it. It was already decided, which is unfortunate. You know, we've got two commissioners up there doing a great job with Dave Eagle and Kevin Andrews talking common sense and actually listening to the people and taking a more fiscally conservative approach, which that's what we really need in there, especially when we've got a volunteer fire department that is needing money. We've got better ways to spend this money, in my opinion.
In a lot of people's opinion, you know, the motion was made by Jack Wilson, and it was option 1, you know, to convert all offices to Tyler except the Sheriff's Department. So I've got a huge issue with that because, you know, like I said, if it doesn't work for everybody, then it's not a good program. Let's keep the county working efficiently, and with $1.4 million of your tax money that Ron and Jack just voted to spend, and by all means, that's not going to be the end of this Tyler stuff, because you could probably add another $500,000 by the time these things all get worked out. So it kind of reminds me of that old $1 million parking lot. You know, this thing, and you're right, Corny, the money could be used for the volunteer fire department. That's part of the infrastructure, and I agree this is too. But once again, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. $1.4 million of your tax money is just spent on something that will not help the efficiency of your elected offices here in Hood County, and it was voted on by Jack, Ron, and Ron.
Guys, we appreciate all the support. It's been tremendous so far. Thank you again for watching. If y'all want to support Blue Shark, head over to blueshark.media, and there you can find the merchandise we've got. You see the hats that Mike and I are wearing. Courtney's wearing one of the t-shirts, and we've also got these tumblers.
Thank you once again for watching Blue Shark. Blue Shark is here for the citizens of Hood County, shining a light on your elected and appointed officials. Shark Show out.